A woman named Gwen is on her way to start a new job at a remote hotel called the All Tucked Inn. When she arrives at the front desk, she rings the bell looking for the manager, but no one answers. She goes outside and hopes she'll find someone. She sees a maid's house cleaning cart outside one of the rooms. She starts to approach but is distracted when she sees room 18's door creaking open. She decides to take a look. When she goes back outside, she meets Teddy, the owner of the motel. He takes her back to the front desk and introduces himself. He tells her he wasn't expecting her until the morning. He says Carmen, his other cleaning lady, works nights, but her son is getting sick. He says he knows the place looks creepy. It used to belong to his grandparents and he never updated it. Then he shows her his plans for the place. He takes her for a tour of the motel and shows her that all 20 rooms are identical, and room 8 still needs cleaning. He shows her the supply room and lets her know that she needs to use the brick to hold the door open because it only opens from the outside. Gwen goes outside and she sees a sign that says pool. She takes a look and notices that the pool hasn't been used in a long time and has a very big hole at the bottom. Teddy tells her it's a sinkhole and the town is coming to fill it up this weekend. Teddy is leaving for the night, but Gwen wants to know what kind of security he has. He tells her there's a security camera in the front, but she means weapons because she's a woman alone in the middle of nowhere. He tells her there's a fire axe next to the vending machine and nobody will mess with her if she's swinging that around. He tells Gwen to relax. Neither him nor Carmen have had any problems there, but if she feels unsafe, she can lock herself in the parlor with a deadbolt and give him a call. Before he leaves, he says he'll be back in the morning around 7 a.m. She then sees someone peeking out of the window of one of the rooms, and she goes to the front desk to see that it's being rented by a woman named Alice Marsh. She goes over to the room to see if Alice needs anything. The woman is unusually quiet, and she sees red stuff on her fingers. When she turns, she sees that room 18 is open again, and she goes inside and closes the window. While she's cleaning, a mysterious car with blacked out windows pulls up slowly, then speeds off. After cleaning the room, she sees a woman enter the door to the lobby. She rushes over, but no one can be found. Gwen orders food and walks away from the desk. That's when the phone rings. But when she picks it up, there's no one there. She notices the call came from room 13. She hangs up and the phone rings once again from the same room. She sees that the keys are still there and no one has rented that room out. And when she answers the phone, all she hears is someone laughing. Gwen takes a knife and the keys and goes to room 13. The light switch doesn't work. She looks around for a while and then goes over to the phone. Behind her, you can see something moving on the bed. She checks the phone to see if it's still working. When she begins to leave, it starts to ring. She sees the call is coming from the front desk. Then someone behind her says, "It's for you." She runs out of the room and the telephone stops ringing. That's when Alice appears behind her and says that her blow dryer is not working. They go to the supply room and Alice sees the knife and asks Gwen what it was she saw in that room. Gwen says she hasn't slept in 20 hours and this is her first night at the job and her brain is just scattered. Gwen says she thought she was seeing things and Alice said, "Well, it's a shame, I do have a good ghost story." She finds a hairdryer and Alice accidentally kicks the brick away and locks them in. The lights go out and Allison begins to panic and she says there's someone else in here. She felt it touch her, but it was a rat on her shoulder. Just then the food delivery guy shows up and opens the door for them. Gwen decides to share her food and Alice tells her that she left home because her and her mother didn't get along. Alice tells her she should be careful because it's dangerous out here on the road for a woman by herself. She asks Alice if she wants a Coke and goes to the vending machine. While she's at the vending machine, that same car with the blacked out windows pulls up behind her. The car sits for a second and then pulls off, but this time it makes a U-turn and comes back around. Gwen quickly runs back inside and watches from the door as the car pulls off. Allison scares Gwen by accident and she drops the sodas. She thanks Gwen for dinner and then goes to fix her phone back in her hotel room. Gwen tells her, "Don't forget to lock your door." Gwen hears the reception bell ring, but when she gets to the front, there's no one there. That's when the stuffed bear head falls off the wall again. She sees a car pull up, so she grabs a knife and goes to the front desk. That's when a very obnoxious couple comes in, making fun of the motel, and then the man walks over to Gwen and says, "Now we would like your very best room." The man informs Gwen that they'll only be staying for an hour so he can be intimate with his wife. But when she tells them we don't rent rooms by the hour, he begins to curse and berate her more than any normal person would be able to handle. She keeps her cool and repeats the price of the room. The man then begins throwing money at her, more than 4 times what the room rate is. He then takes the key and leaves. Later, Gwen is walking the grounds of the hotel and hears loud slapping noises coming from that same couple's room. Peeking through the window, she sees them playing intimate domination games. The woman hears something outside and goes to the door where Gwen is hiding. After putting up a warning sign about rats in the supply room, Gwen goes back to investigate the sinkhole in the pool. She tries to go down the ladder to get a closer look, and it breaks, leaving her at the bottom of the pool. She tried to get up and sees another apparition of a woman crawling after her. She starts screaming, and Alice arrives and helps her out of the pool. Gwen is patching up her arm from the fall when Alice says, "You saw something again, didn't you?" She goes on to say, "You know this place is haunted. This is one of the most notoriously haunted areas in the state." Then Gwen hears laughing and sees it's the obnoxious couple leaving the motel. She asks Alice if she's noticed a strange car lurking around the area. She then tells her a story about when she was young, a man named Walton Gray broke into her house and killed her mother and her sisters, and he tried to get her, but she was the only one that survived. She said they caught him and locked him away in an institute, but 2 days ago he escaped. She went on to say that she found her mother's necklace that went missing the night of the attack in her mailbox. She said that she was so scared she ran, but he followed her. Also that she had seen him twice outside tonight. Allison thinks she should call the police for her own safety, but she tells Alice that she needs her to stay in her room and lock her door and not come out. Alice agrees. On her way back, she sees the ghost lady enter the lobby, and when she gets to the front desk, there's no one there. She then goes to the monitor and sees the same ghost lady outside the lobby, but when she goes to the window, she's gone. Gwen goes back to the monitor, and that's when she sees the lady in the same room. The ghost woman follows her until Gwen escapes into the parlor room, locks the door, and calls Teddy. When he answers the phone, she yells at him for not telling her the place was haunted. Teddy's in disbelief and tells her the place may be spooky, but it's not haunted. But she says this is her last shift and she's not coming back and she'll see him at 7 a.m. The reception bell rings. When she gets to the lobby, she sees a man that makes her feel uneasy. He's asking for a room. He asks if he knows her from someplace and she says no. She tells him it's 91 for the night. He pays and she gives him the keys to cabin 8, but he wants to be shown to his room. On the way to his room, she notices that his car is the same one she's been seeing all night. They arrive at his cabin. She begins to give him a tour of the room and sees the scissors she left there earlier. As she nervously continues, the man closes and locks the door. The man asks her for her name, but she said she has to check to see if there's any clean towels. While she's gone, he looks out of the window for something, but when he turns back around, she's standing there with the scissors and gets him in the neck. As he falls to the floor, he says, "Don't you know who I am?" She says, "You're Walton Gray." But he says his name is Raymond Bailey. "I'm your doctor. You've been under my care at the Ashford Psychiatric Facility for 12 years. 2 nights ago, you escaped." She doesn't believe it. She says, "You're Walton Gray and you killed my family." He says, "No, Gwen, you did it. Do you remember what you told me about how you were mistreated by them and how they hated you? Do you remember what you did to your family?" Then we see a flashback of what took place many years ago. Still in a state of denial, she says, "Walton Gray killed my family." He tells her there is no Walton Gray, you made him up. That name is an anagram of your name, Gwen Taylor. She turns and in the doorway she sees her deceased family as a doctor reaches for the sedative he dropped. He told her she needs her medication, she's not well, and that he called the hospital once he knew that he found her. Not wanting to hear anymore, she picks up the scissors and tells the doctor to open your f***ing mouth. When the hospital orderlies arrive to assist the doctor, they see Gwen standing outside. When she walks back in the room, they follow. Moments later, Allison hears something outside. She sees the open van and goes to investigate. When she enters the room, she sees one of the orderlies on the bed and the doctor in the corner with his tongue cut out. The other orderly crawls from the other room with Gwen standing over him with the scissors. Alice runs back to her room and locks the door. Then the lights go out. Gwen breaks the door and Alice escapes through the bathroom window. She gets to the lobby, grabs a knife and Gwen's car keys from her jacket. She backs the car out but can't get it to shift and to drive. That's when Gwen breaks the window with an axe. She escapes from the car and gets inside the hospital van she saw earlier, but there's no car keys. She runs back to the room and finds them on one of the bodies. But as she goes back out to the van, she's stopped by Gwen, who finishes the job. Later, Teddy arrives and sees strange things as he looks around his hotel. He goes over by the pool and sees Gwen climbing out. He asks, "What were you doing down there in the pool?" She says, "Come over here and I'll show you." The scene switches to a year later with a young man traveling from out of state to his new college campus, but decides to find a motel to stay the night. He sees the All Tucked In on the app. It looks totally different from when we last saw it, and Gwen seems to be running the place. While he's looking at the pool, Gwen tells him that last year they had a sinkhole at the bottom that was so big you could fit 5 people down there. They go to the front desk so he can check in, and she gives him cabin number 8. She says it's her favorite. Just then she starts to see the faces of the people she's taken out, and the man asks her if she's okay. She says never better, and Yogi falls off the wall again.